Welcome back to the 2024 Tire Rack One Lap of America, presented by Grassroots Motorsport Magazine, with coverage brought to you by Hooked on Driving, Everyday Driver, and the Valente Group. Bryan and I are back, and this time we are here with Scott, and misspelled Eric, and Rob. So, gentlemen, what's your team name? What are you taking this year? And then we'll get into sort of why that's so cool.
So this year, I am teaming up with Eric, who is not Becky, but I'm excited to be co-driving with Eric. We are going to be driving the Fields Auto Works Cardinal Coupe, which is a very cool car that we're excited about. By far is going to be the most, that thing, is going to be the most capable and fast car I've driven on the one lap. So excited about that. And we got G-Lock coming on for the brakes.
Very cool. So, Eric, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Because, as we were just talking about before we started recording, you are the new Becky.
Yeah, I am the new Becky, not quite as attractive and, probably not as snuggleable like Scott was saying before we went live on air here. But Scott and I have known each other for quite a few years and do a lot of grid life stuff together, gotten to know each other pretty well over the last 4 or 5 years. We were kind of talking about probably a year or so ago about, hey, you want to do one lap together? And, Scott's the guy that I want to do one lap with, and things kind of, just coalesced into working with Rob, taking the Cardinal out. I was talking to Rob over the weekend. Both Scott and I were at Mid-Ohio with Rob testing the car for the first time. And I'm a big kind of, English car guy, right? So I saw the Cardinal Coupe probably in 21, I think was when it first came out to a grid life event. And I immediately said, I want to drive that. That's my kind of car. So I finally got the opportunity to do that this weekend with Scott, and we had a great time.
And it's neat, isn't it? Because last year we had, I think, one of my favorite vehicles out there, an MGB. So talking about sort of old British cars, that MGB is still sweet. I want to get one built up because that thing was just amazing.
So cool.
But we do have Fields Auto Works here. We have Rob here with Fields. So, Rob, why don't you tell us a little bit more about this car, how it came to be, why it came to be, and sort of what was the inspiration behind it?
Sure. I'll try to keep that fairly concise. The short answer on the inspiration behind the model, the Cardinal Coupe, it's really styled after the Alfa Romeo TZ2. Similar packaging, similar lightweight. Basically, it's a tube chassis car with a paneled monocoque. It's Formula car style pull rod suspension, fiberglass body. Little bit of modern downforce techniques sprinkled into the old school styling and the very kind of low drag streamlined cam tail style of bodywork. The specific car that Scott and Eric are going to be taking is actually the original prototype chassis. So it's been wrecked a bunch of times and a billion track miles on it, and well over 100 drivers in it at this point. So it's kind of old faithful at this point. Scott and Eric actually approached us about, hey, is there an opportunity for us to take one of your cars on the one lap? And with a little bit of history supporting some other folks on one lap and a real love for that event and for these guys through the grid life stuff, it seemed like a perfect opportunity. I'm occasionally a little bit of anxiety about sending the original car out on this torture test, but I think the performance potential is awesome, and what a better way to demonstrate what the car is capable of. So,
but it's more than just performance, isn't it? Because I think, as we were talking before we went to record, it's sort of the perfect kind of a car for one lap, because one of your key points was that, it's a lot of Ford running gear, it's a lot of Ford components, and the idea that you said was that you could, if something broke anywhere, you could go just about anywhere and pick up a replacement. And I think as we've all done this a number of times, that's one of the real important things, because you could have something that's really, really quick. You can have something that can theoretically go out and win the day. But if you break something and you can't source a replacement,
Oh,
it's not.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
you know, the concept behind the Cardinal, you know, really it's, if it can wear out, it should be something you can go buy off the shelf, just about anywhere. Some of the things, like some of the drivetrain components and stuff like that, maybe are a little more specialized, right? You're not going to get a T56 out of your local AutoZone, but you might out of a Summit or Jegs warehouse somewhere, right? So, but that said, that original prototype car, being that original prototype, not everything on it totally adheres to that. So we're spending some extra time now trying to update some of that and bring that car up to that standard, in order to make sure that these guys have as successful a run as they can.
Awesome.
But knowing everything that car has gone through and everything that's ever been thrown at it, I feel really comfortable with that part of it.
Awesome. All right, Brian, what do you got?
Well, first, Scott, which is more comfortable, the Grid Life Miata or the Cardinal?
So
And second, have you prepared yourself mentally what you're going to do if you have any unforeseen issues with the car during the week?
So yeah, I've already gotten questions to the first one. The Cardinal is by far more comfortable than the Miata is. It's quieter. It doesn't vibrate as much, and has much better highway gearing. It's got the same gearing as a Mustang, but built for a car that's way heavier than what the Cardinal is. And the Miata, God, we were doing 4,200 RPM at 80 miles an hour, just singing. And Becky's Mazda 2 was no better. So I'm really kind of keeping with the theme of cars that are a little painful on the street. I mean, we don't have a radio, we don't have HVAC. The Windows solutions kind of TBD. But the one thing we do have that the Miata didn't have is we have a massive trunk, which is going to be great. That was something when Rob told Eric and I, we actually didn't believe him, that the car was designed to actually be able to take its own track wheels and tires to the track.
Yeah, full set of spares, right?
Exactly. So we actually had Becky in the back of it cleaning the windscreen on the back, and she fits back there comfortably. So that's going to be nice. In terms of unforeseen stuff along the way, we've been kind of working with Rob to know the problem, like any potential areas. He's sending us with the spares package. I'm pretty handy with a wrench. You know, I've got people on speed dial I can call. And it is one of those things on the one lap that's always a little comforting, is we all drive really dumb cars with a bunch of stickers. So it's like, if we're on the side of the road, we're probably going to get like 4 or 5 cars, like at least like texting and seeing if we need anything.
Well, that, and it's not like you look like an Accord broken down by the side of the road. I mean, it's pretty evident. And remember, yours is bright red too, if I'm not, or is that orange that you guys had? So
Yeah, that the Miata was a full-on race car, and we didn't really realize it that last year until it broke and we couldn't find parts on the shelf. But yeah, and Becky's car isn't exactly quiet visually or auditorially speaking as well. So, you know, just keep it with the theme. Just going with the car that's lighter, more powerful with more tire. So
speaking of tires, what tire are you running this year?
So we did decide to do the Bridgestone RE71 RS. I've always been a tryhard when it comes to tires, and this was kind of no different. You know, the ECSs I really adore as a tire, but with a car of this caliber and my affinity for wet weather driving, the RE71 I think is gonna perform the best and still do well in the dry or in the wet conditions on the highway, stuff like that.
I know a
Yeah,
lot
I'm,
of
I'm
people.
kind of excited. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was gonna say
No,
I'm
go
kind of excited about the tire choice too, because we tried the car over the weekend with 2 different tire choices, and the chassis lends itself pretty well towards working pretty well with different tires, and I think we got a little bit of scrub in on the event tires too, right? So we're Scott has a little bit of feel of that, and he came back with a smile, so I think we're looking pretty good there.
I made my mistake of not scrubbing a set of tires in once, and I won't do it again.
Whatever do you mean? All the mold release agents sticking on there and making it terrible to actually get around? Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. The last year in the Miata, I had the Falcons on, and we only had the miles from the hotel to the skid pad, and it just did not go well for me.
Those Falcon tires. Yeah, I got it. But so Bridgestone, I think it's interesting this year because I think a lot of the teams are also looking at the new Bridgestone race tire because it's in that extreme performance summer. So we're not in that streetable track competition. It looks very close to a PSC2, more along the lines of sort of a PSC2 Connect, the two more tread wear. And it's supposed to offer better wet performance than the Connects ever did either. So we're seeing a lot, and they're fairly expensive now too. I think the widest they run is a 305, if I'm not mistaken, 305, 3520. So I think a lot of teams are gravitating that way, giving up a little bit of width, even though they're within, I think, like a few millimeters of what a 315 PSC2 is when you actually measure the tread width. But I think a lot of guys are going that direction. Have you thought about those, or sort of what was the driving factor?
This car is so light. A soft compound is going to lend itself better for us.
You'll heat them up fast.
Yeah, that new
Longevity.
exactly. That new Bridgestone is I don't want to say geared towards endurance, but it is geared towards lasting a little bit longer. And over the weekend, we were really romping on some tires, and we were, I don't want to say having trouble getting them up to temp, but they're pretty cool. So we're going to have to lean on the compound itself rather than on like getting them up to temp and anything like that. So
you've tried the races, and what you're telling me is that they're harder to turn on unless you're really aggressive or in a heavier car, effectively.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This car, what is this car with us, Rob? Like 2,200 pounds?
Yeah,
Or less,
it's 1730 without a driver.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah, so sub 2000, call it. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And-
All right, Rob, I'm going to ask you now so when these guys aren't actually competing, or if we have a chance for parade laps, would you be fine with me actually driving this thing? Because I'd like to see exactly what this thing's like. And do a little feature of that. All right.
Absolutely. There's one other thing I'll just throw in real quickly. Most of the driving that car has done in the last 2 years has been on either a 225 wide 17 A7 or a 295 wide 18 A7. And so those are considerably stickier out of the box, but they also are considerably more compliant, right? A sidewall stiffness, your effective spring rate at the contact patch is different. And so one of the big changes that we'll be navigating through all of this is, what the right tire pressure to run is, where the sweet spot is in terms of longevity versus getting the tire to fire off quickly versus how hard to drive it. So there's more to learn there than I think most people going into this have. I think we've got more question marks there. But on the flip side, having these guys go from totally spent, humongous wide A7s to brand new 245 ECFs over the weekend, they got a wide variety of what the difference in the car feel will be like. So I think they're going to land somewhere in the middle between those in terms of how the Bridgestones feel out there in the real world.
Awesome. All right, Bryan, what do you got?
All right, I've got one for Eric and then one for Rob. So Eric, what has Scott told you about the event that you didn't already know? And what are you looking forward to and possibly dreading about the event?
Yeah, let's see. I'll start with the first one. We were having coffee at this awesome little coffee place next to Mid Ohio, and Scott was telling me a little bit about some of the initiation rites that I'll have to go through. I think it involved taking shots with some old dude and a couple other things. I'm looking forward to that for sure. Let's see, what was it? I can't remember the second one you asked me, but the third one, what am I dreading is lack of sleep. I'm not a morning person, but I've forced myself to get up early for many Pikes Peak adventures. I've done a few Pikes Peak crew things and worked on a bunch of cars for Pikes Peak over the years. So I'm used to getting up in the early wee morning hours, once I'm kind of in the zone. But that's probably the most dread I have. And honestly, I mean, if you got to get up in the morning, you got to get up in the morning, and that's the worst dread I have. That's not bad. And like we were saying before, I mean, the car is a sweetheart, especially once we put the new tires on it. I mean, it was really exciting to drive. Honestly, it reminded me a lot of some of the lighter cars that I drive typically. I have a Lotus Series 1 Elise. I have a Caterham race car, and it reminded me a lot of that once we got the fresh tires on it. So I'm looking forward to that at all, quite a bit. But what was the second question you had? Sorry, I missed that one.
During the event are you most looking forward to?
Yeah, I think probably trying new tracks, although, it is a little bit nerve wracking, right? Because I mean, in one lap, obviously you have, very limited opportunity to learn tracks that you haven't been on. And maybe unfortunately, fortunately, this time, I think, of the tracks we're running, I mean, Scott's got quite a bit more experience on a few of the tracks, so he'll obviously take those. But I think each of us will be doing a couple tracks that we haven't tried before. So that'll be exciting. I don't know if that'll be something to look forward to or not, but I'm going to be doing a lot of video studying over the next couple of weeks, and hopefully come prepared. And like Scott said a couple of times, right, the car's got all the capability, right? And if we can manage tire temps and get some good grip out of the car, I think we could do pretty well.
Okay.
Awesome.
And Rob, tell me about the thought process from making incredible aero products from cars to going into the manufacturing of building your own, what seems to be an incredible road car or track car.
Sure. Yeah. So the aero business was always something that I did kind of nights and weekends while I had a full-time aerospace career. And I had worked with my father on a lot of car-related projects. He was involved in Lola Can-Am cars and a lot of SCCA Formula car and road sports racer type stuff. And he was kind of getting ready to retire from his daytime career. I was thinking very seriously about making the career jump out of aerospace and full-time into motorsport. And we kind of looked at everybody out in the world who was building race cars and said, that's a really small market. That's a really tough, building something like a formula car or a spec racer or something like that. And we said the real market is track cars, right? Think about how many cars a year Porsche and GM and Ford and Ferrari and all these people are making that, yeah, they're meant for the track, but you can drive them to Cars and Coffee, you can do whatever, right? Sort of the same space that the Radicals, the Ariels, some of those cars play in. And I said, what if we do something like that, but make it more of a real car? And so that's really where it all came from. I didn't go full time with Fields Auto Works until 21, but starting in 2017, 2018, we started working on the prototypes and getting the product vision out there. So it's been a long and sometimes stressful journey, but at the same time, it's extremely rewarding to have talented people like Scott and Eric get behind the wheel and give such great feedback when they get out of the car. So
that's awesome. So I guess I'll spike the bullet on this question, but what's your goal, I guess, to end up? I mean, where do you think you're going to wind up this year? What are you shooting for? And don't tell me we're just out here to have a good time, because you wouldn't be working with Rob and bringing this car if you were. So let's go.
So I've done it 5 years now, and the highest we've finished thus far was in the K Miata with the Aero and all that stuff, and I think we played mid-30s, something like that. Now, mid-pack in the one lap has come up significantly. Everyone went out and bought a Corvette or a Camaro, Porsche, all these easy button cars that are super comfy on the highway and really capable.
Oh, we should probably, yeah. Is that Bryan's microphone coming through?
Maybe. Bryan, do you have a whole family arguing and going at it in the background?
Nope.
Brain.
I don't know where that's coming from then.
So, and then we went to Sunday Cup for a couple of years and really enjoyed that, kind of wanted to bring a whole group together to do that and just have a good time, which was great. But I've always wanted to try hard. Not be a try hard, but kind of see. And I don't have the money to go out and buy a P car to go get a Corvette or anything like that. But, I've known Rob now for a little bit. I've known Eric now for a little bit. And, Rob's been kind of flirting with going on the one lap for a while, but I saw that, his entry this year was removed. So I'm like, hey, are you still doing this? He's like, nah. I'm like, can we do it for you? So I think
you need a cutout of him in the back just the whole time.
Exactly. So I think what
nobody needs.
Yeah, Rob's been great in saying that he doesn't really expect a result, which is good. I kind of do, but the one thing that the farther up in the field that you get is people doing recon, doing some serious testing. Eric and I we split 2 days. We have no recon other than the tracks that I've been to that I'm going to be driving and some of the, more niche events that I've got some experience on. So I would love to be top 30, and I would just be pretty silly excited if we landed in the teens. Mm-hmm. But again, that's going to be dependent on the other cars, reliability for everybody, our performance, and just kind of that. So it's always hard to tell, but certainly top 30, I think, would be great. Okay, fair enough. Still a little political of an answer. I mean, I'm waiting. I'm still waiting for somebody to come out here and be like, I'm going for the win. I mean, just realistically, top 10. I've seen how this event has been progressing the last few years. Top 10 is, you've got to have your T's crossed, I's dotted, and have luck on top of it. 100%. Yeah, but I'm just curious to see if you wind up with the Hollis effect, because, as we all know, when you start bringing more specific track weapons, one of two things can happen. Oh, yeah. Either it goes really, really well or not. So, oh yeah. Getting close to being able to introduce an Aero package for the Cardinal, and I can't say I wasn't a little disappointed that we weren't gonna get it, but we're getting the car, and so that's going to be cool. And I do think this car can punch above what a kit car typically has. Yeah. And we actually have another. Sorry, this isn't a kit car. We have a kit car in the special construction, and I do want to beat that one. So there you go. Yeah, there you go. That's your litmus test right there. Yes. Go ahead, Rob. I know you're itching to say something. Please.
No, it's fine. I think the big thing for me is I'm I'm thrilled that these guys have the confidence and the trust in our product to take this on this event. And my success from our standpoint looks like having a building block and a stepping stone to launch something more aggressive in the future. So this year is all about, from our perspective, a little bit of name recognition, a little bit of, building block learning, and there are other cars in the stable that are going to be itching to do this at some point. So
absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what then. During the event, we'd love to have you on as a contributing guest. As we're before these guys go out and as we're doing stuff, so you can sort of call the action with us for a little bit. If you want to take some time away from your day, that'd be cool. You can tell us, because obviously I want to hear this thing run, because I think it's going to sound great. I think it's going to go like stink, quite frankly, given the weight and the power that the thing's got. And I've been looking at the specs online, and it's just a pretty car. So I think it's going to be fun, and one that we look forward to. Bryan, I'll give you the last question honors here.
Okay, for another one for Rob. So when the car finishes in the top 10 this year, how do folks get in touch with you to purchase a car, and what is the cost of the car turnkey, ready to go to
for
use
a track
as
car? Remember, not for road.
For an
right.
HPDE car, or a track car? And how far out would you be from getting delivery of said car?
Yep. So absolutely, the best way to get a hold of us, go to fieldsautoworks.com. There's a contact form there. There's also info@fieldsautoworks.com that you can email directly. And on the cost side of things, right now a turnkey Cardinal, everything ready to go to the track today kind of thing, is $89,000, which is not the most affordable thing you're ever going to put on track, but for the dollar to speed ratio, it's like a third of what you'd spend to get certain other things that are going to go as fast and be as safe and be new, right? I mean, we're always getting compared to used track cars, and it's a different thing. But anyway, yeah, 89 is the price for a turnkey done car with the EcoBoost and the T56 Magnum. And then right now we're 9 to 12 months out. We're trying to shrink that as we grow, take more orders. We're up to 4 dealers across the country. So as the orders come in and we scale our production, that number will go down. But right now, that's what we're looking at.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. And, we look forward to watching this go throughout the one lap. Gentlemen, what is your team name? We didn't get that one.
Yeah. So, my business, my coaching and setup business is Robertson Racing. Eric's is Yaw Speed LLC, and so
limited. Speed Limited. We gotta sound a little more English.
Yes, and so we kind of with the Robertson Speed or like
Limited
Racing or something, like some combination of that. Pinky's out.
Pinky's out. There you go. As you say it. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. Scott, misspelled Eric, Rob, thank you very much. We really appreciate your time learning more about the car, the effort, and I can't wait to get behind the wheel of this thing, because it sounds great, and it sounds like the cars that I kind of grew up on with my dad. So, he always used to be taking in blocks for his MGs and Triumphs, and lining sleeves and boring cylinders. So, I mean, he had the very light cars, the big motors in them, and you could put your hand out and touch the ground. So, looking forward to checking that thing out. But, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
For Bryan,
thank you.
Solomon, this has been the 2024 Tire Rack One Lap of America, presented by Grassroots Motorsport Magazine, with coverage this year brought to you by Hooked on Driving, Everyday Driver, and the Valente Group. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
God, he's good at that.
I try.